Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Why are you guys giggling? Why are you guys laughing at me? It's my little excited shimmy this morning.
Yeah.
I'm always so happy to see you. That's what it is.
Morning.
Good morning to you
Always
all.
happy to see you too.
Friends, please, let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has arrived in Nigeria, marking the beginning of a state visit scheduled to last until December 12th, 2024. Steinmeier was welcomed at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Ezekwe International Airport in Abuja on Tuesday night by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Now, during his visit, the German leader is expected to hold discussions with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President of the ECOWAS Commission, Aliyu Omar Toure. His itinerary also includes a visit to Lagos, where Steinmeier will interact with business leaders, visit a startup hub, and engage with prominent figures from Nigeria's cultural and civil society sectors, including Dr. Nike Okundaye and Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka. Steinmeier will also be accompanied by a business delegation of CEOs and high-ranking board members of some of Germany's most successful companies in the fields of IT, high-tech, and energy, an indication of the rising interest of German businesses in opportunities to invest here in Nigeria. And staying on the African continent, and Zambia's top court has barred former President Edgar Lungu from standing for re-election in 2026. The Constitutional Court ruled that the 68-year-old politician had already served the maximum 2 terms allowed by law. Lungu was first elected president in January 2015 to serve the remaining 20 months of his predecessor's term. That is, of course, President Michael Sata, who died in office back in October 2024. Lungu argued that this should not count since he did not serve a full 5-year term. But the court disagreed, reversing previous rulings that had cleared him to run 3 years ago when he lost against former President Hichilema. In their words, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, which is his full name, has therefore been twice elected and twice held office. Now, with this Zambia story, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts because, I mean, we've heard what the court have had to say, but Mr. Lungu himself says, well, it was only 20 months. That shouldn't constitute a full term. But the court said, well, you were elected.
Well, it was elected on the ticket.
There we go.
That's just it. So, I mean, I think there are laws too that apply. I mean, Dr. Baptist, the law don't here. There are laws too that apply like that.
Yes.
You know, once you get elected on the ballot, definitely it reflects on all of that. So, and Edgar Lungu has had his time, you know, so except if he still has a political ambition, but he doesn't have to be president to be able to serve Zambia. You know, he can serve Zambia in other capacities, and there are many things he can do, not at the highest office. But secondly, as regards Frank-Walter Steinmeier coming in here, which is a good one. You know, the German president is coming. Cultural ties is going to see Nike Art Gallery.
Yes.
Also going to see Wole Soyinka. The Germans have been doing a lot of work as regards business and cultural development. If you remember, through their GIZ foundation, that they did a lot of work with many microfinance companies out here in Nigeria. Lapo, for instance, and some other microfinance companies that has helped a great deal. The GIZ grant has been something that the German community has also helped. As regards culture, the Germans have something called the Goethe Institute, which has been the vanguard of culture. A lot of exchange programs between Nigeria and Germany over the years, and we've both benefited from that. And also in the business sector, goodness me, there's a book written by Emeka Ed Kiazo. It's called The One Man Line. It talks about the story of the Germans that helped industrialize Nigeria in pre-colonial days. How Germany used to be one of our largest trading partners at some point in pre-colonial days, the Glacis of this world, and some other top German companies that are still here, that have been here for over hundreds of years, that traded with Nigeria and all that. So there's a rich, cultural heritage as regards trade between Nigeria and Germany that has been for a very long time. And that's why the likes of Frank-Walter Steinmeier is also bringing those German CEOs and German businesses, in continuation of that trip. But the big question is, what does Nigeria gain from all of this?
I was about to ask you, because I know that you weren't too happy with the French involvement, especially with the mining pits. There's 2,000 mines that France are going to rehabilitate for Nigeria.
We need to say the fine lines of money, because we need the money. We need that FDI to be able to grow our economy. So that's just it. But historically, we have a very long trade. For book reference, as regards, like, you can read the book by Mecca Edke as well. I mean, it talks
See how that
about
goes.
historical business of Germany
Thanks,
and Nigeria.
Rufai.
They did say he came with some business leaders who
Yes.
would be interested in investing, at least hopefully having conversations with Nigerian business leaders, so that handshake. And then this has also, of course, been said to be, maybe part of the wins of the president going abroad, all these foreign trips. In fairness to him, we have seen quite an interest in state visits from countries abroad to Nigeria, and that's good in terms of for our foreign relationships and foreign diplomacy. I hope he gets to enjoy the culture of. I mean, he was welcomed so lavishly with the beautiful Nigerian culture. But again, what is in it for a lot of people is what's in it for Nigerians and Nigeria. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to leverage that relationship that we already currently enjoy with Germany, especially in the area of business. They talk about the businesses, German interest businesses in Nigeria.
Yes.
Hopefully get an investment in the healthcare sector, in energy sector. They've talked about that. I have business leaders from there. Now going to Uganda and the Zambia, Lungu and Hichilema, current president, former president.
Yes.
I think with the benefit of hindsight, he would probably not have run for only the last 20 months. But there's also been conversations around targeting and perhaps even, almost witch hunting. Recall that in the lower courts, they actually upheld the fact that he could run for election. Okay. And the President Hichilema fired 3 of those judges who ruled in those cases, who made it possible for him to run again. And then when he made the decision to run, all his benefits as a retired president was pulled away from him the moment he said to demonstrate the fact that, so all the benefits, his 3 security officers, immunity he enjoyed, so said it was begin to treat him like a senior citizen, like any other senior citizen. So there are elements of malice, if I put it that way, in this conversation. And doesn't that happen everywhere? On the African continent, a lot of times you just want to bring your opponent down. So he cannot run again. He's unable to, according to the highest court in the land. So he can't even appeal this anymore. And he also would set the precedent for previous. I don't know if his situation is very common. He came into office when President Sata at the time had passed away in 2014, and then finished his tenure, ran. He's done 2 elections, but there's that conversation that he had a 5-year term, and he only did 20 months. That's less than 2 years.
Exactly.
So something really not
adding up, is it?
Yeah.
With regard to Zambia, the issue is about the decision of the Constitutional Court. In other words, the emphasis is on what the Constitution of Zambia says. Now, Edward Lungu became president in 2015, January, following the death of Michael Sata, who had health issues. Now, Edward Lungu has served as Minister of Justice and Minister of Defense. And the party, the Patriotic Front, decided that there should be a replacement. And there was a by-election in 2015. Now, that by-election was won by Edward Lungu. His main challenger was Akande, the current president. So he became president. Now, in 2016, after completing the remainder of the term of Michael Sata, he ran for election again. His main opponent again was Akande. He won the election, right? 2 elections. Then he ran again in, 2020, right? Against the same Akande. He lost to Akande. Now he just decided that he still wants to come back. The Constitutional Court of Zambia, following what the constitution of the country says no, you have been elected twice. So it's a straightforward narrative. The only gray area in Zambia is the fact that he's been persecuted by the sitting administration of Akande, who is this long foe, who is saying, no, you cannot run again, and has taken the matter to the court, has withdrawn his retirement benefits because he decided to come back. Also within his party, the Patriotic Front, there's division within the Patriotic Front. So within the Patriotic Front. So there are issues within and without, in Zambia. But I think the Constitutional Court will just stay within the province of the law. And we cannot question that to the extent that the law in Zambia says you cannot run for more than 2 terms. And he contested election for 2 terms. Now, as for the German president coming to Nigeria on a 3-day official visit, I think it's important. In Nigeria, we have about 90 companies, operating in Nigeria. 90 German companies in Nigeria, including Lufthansa, including Bosch, including other countries that I may have difficulties pronouncing their names properly. How many Nigerian companies are operating in Germany? The issue is about trade volume, trade balance. Now, Germany, in terms of food products, probably sends food products about 20% to Nigeria. In terms of machines, machinery, vehicles and all of that, about 20%. Other export materials from Germany, about 4%. Now, do you know that Nigeria transports just about 83% of crude oil? So our relationship with Germany is just about crude oil. In other words, what can we do about the trade volume? So the German president coming to Nigeria, has a lot to talk about because, again, Germany, to say something positive about them, is the second largest humanitarian supporter of humanitarian causes in Nigeria, particularly in the Northwest. In terms of supporting projects, aid, and trade volume is about 3 billion euros.
Sure.
But that does not favor Nigeria. He will visit Lagos. When he visits Lagos, they say they will take him around. He will meet with Professor Soyinka. Yes. He will meet with Nike Okundaye.
We should be
but I hope they will show him places. The real Lagos. Not that they will concentrate.
What is the real Lagos?
The real Lagos is not in Ajangbadi. It's not in Ajegunle.
So, is it not?
I doubt if they will take him to such places.
We'll see.
But that remains to be
Dr.
seen.
Bati, let's move to newspapers and then we'll come back to all three of you for some more comments. Let's take a look at the front page of This Day this morning. And it leads with the pleads coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not to let politics to divide us as Nigerians. He made this request during the commissioning of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Technology Innovation Complex at the headquarters of the Nigerian Immigration Service in Abuja. The New Telegraph leads with the House of Representatives expressing concerns over the ongoing cash crunch in commercial banks across the country, calling on the Central Bank of Nigeria to intervene. The call by the House is coming on the heels of a directive by Vice President Kashim Shettima to the CBN and commercial banks in the country to swiftly resolve issues of cash scarcity and arbitrary charges by point of sale or POS operators. Now, the Guardian's front page caricature illustrates the cash scarcity frustration where you have Nigerians queuing to buy their own currency, while ATMs where you're supposed to make free cash withdrawals are out of service or out of cash. Now, our House of Representatives correspondent Adesuwa Giwa-Sagi was at the House yesterday where she heard members lament about the commodification of the Naira. How is it that free ATMs are often dry, but crispy, clean cash can be bought at weddings? Moving on to the picture headline of the Daily Trust is still on this theme of cash, but a different currency now. And the picture headline has suspects apprehended in Kano for their possession of counterfeit US dollars and other foreign currency. The Daily Independent and the Tribune both lead with 17 southern state representatives joining to back the tax reform bill and urge for national support. To our African papers now, and Ghana's Daily Graphic reports on the first transitional meeting taking place today between Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo and President-elect John Mahama. To the United Kingdom now, and the Daily Mail leads with news that women and girls are enduring years of pain because their reproductive conditions are being dismissed due to medical misogyny, according to a damning parliamentary report. The report by the Women and Equalities Committee found that reproductive and gynecological conditions such as endometriosis and adenomyosis are treated with inadequate care due to a pervasive stigma, a lack of education by healthcare professionals, and medical misogyny, resulting in delays in treatment and stifling quality of care.
And that's a big issue,
Huge.
And that's why we need more awareness as regards to medical misogyny. I mean, I'm doing an outreach that, in a couple of days from now that talks about, also about the case of preeclampsia.
Right.
A lot of people do not know about that and what women suffer as regards that. In fact, even PCOS, that's another one.
Absolutely.
A lot of people suffer. So I think there needs to be a lot of education on women's health. But I'm also seeing a very funny report there, I think on the front page of the Times, where so I think Gary Casper was talking about she's conflicted, this hot assassin, because I'm also seeing this wave online of support for this guy, yes, as against the Medi-health sector,
yes,
but also the fact that the guy is good looking, but he's an assassin. He killed another human being.
He literally did, yes.
That doesn't count for something, and a lot of people are tilting towards, because he's good looking and all of that.
That's what I don't.
That's a
it's
sad
fun.
one.
I'm surprised that people
That's
even
a
think
sad
that.
one.
But like,
That's
it
a
is
sad
a
one.
thing.
Because he's been getting a lot of support online, and I really wonder what is going on in the world.
I mean, you've hit the. Go ahead.
Not the first time. I remember there was one viral picture of a man who his mugshot. That he became a celebrity when he came. I can't remember
Jeremy
his name.
Meeks,
Yes,
a fair-skinned man with blue
yes,
eyes. Yes, I
and he
remember
went
that
back.
one.
So he's not the first person. To be honest, when I saw his picture the first time, I thought, man, I'm sure a lot of people, some women, but I think, like you said, it doesn't make any sense. And some people are even justifying it, saying that, the healthcare industry has killed, thousands of people. He just killed one, even though it shouldn't have been this violent. There's no justification at all for cold-blooded murder, none at all, and it shouldn't be encouraged. I was going to say this the day we took the story, that even the way the news is being reported, and I don't know if the newspaper should have done that in terms of even glamorizing him, because it would encourage others. You know how it is where you make a hero out of a villain.
Absolutely.
Others who have that kind of mindset will begin to think, okay, this guy is getting so much popularity. It means that I can see it as a cause. I'm fighting for something. You're not fighting for anything. You've deprived a man, a woman, and her two sons. They are, the husband and father.
Right.
You've deprived a lot of people forever.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that should be glamorized about this incident at all. He's a criminal, and that's who he is. Now let me go to the story about the commodification of the naira.
Yes.
Because it's such a big deal, Adefemi, especially because this is December, Christmas period, and the fact that we've often pushed for a cashless society. The idea of the agent bankers, POS operators was supposed to be able to reach a lot of the unbanked in rural areas. But now a system that ought to have been for good is now being abused. And it's now become a racket where people are making money. You go to the bank and they tell you can only withdraw 10,000 naira over the counter. We need to put a spotlight on banks. They come up and declare these huge profits at the end of quarter one, quarter two, half year, end year profit. But the service that they give to Nigerians is nothing to write home about. So I do agree that we need to look. My suggestions around even banks releasing statements of how much cash they receive each month, each week. Let us see why there's scarcity. It will just make life harder for Nigerians. So we keep blaming politicians, but even we ourselves sometimes are the architects of our own misfortune. We see a lot of people suffering, so we need to really handle this. People are paying a lot for the banking system.
This is to me that the more important story this morning will seem to be the fact of the uncertainty in the Middle East, the lack of clarity in the Middle East, the escalation of the crisis and the threat to global peace in the Middle East. With attacks on Syria, with the fall of Assad coming now from two different fronts. Now, Israel has moved close to 25 miles of Damascus. And yet Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, the spokesperson of Israel, says our ambition is not to take over Damascus. But yesterday, they destroyed the naval structure of Syria, and they destroyed some other military depots, chemical weapons depots within Syria, which in itself signals the question: is Israel interested in territorial conquest? They have moved beyond the line.
Heights.
Yeah, the Golan Heights. They've moved the corridor, the mountainous heights regions far into Syria. At the same time, Turkey is also moving into that region. The Turkish supported Syrian National Army was in Kobane yesterday. Kobane was the site of a major crisis between ISIS and the Syrian forces between 2005 and 2015. Now the Turkish President Recep Erdogan is saying that, look, they cannot allow any situation where the Kurdish forces in Syria will be given any advantage. So this is the point I made earlier on in the week, that look, the uncertainty there is going to be in the northwest, the northeast, is going to be also inside Syria itself.
Yes.
So the international community should wake up. We should not wait, and this is the point, until there is humanitarian crisis in Syria. And then the UN will suddenly wake up, Western allies will suddenly wake up, and they will be saying, we have to address humanitarian crisis. The hypocrisy of the West may well be writ large again in the evolving situation in Syria. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Adefemi. When Dr. Batu was saying wake up, I said in the words of Dusu Yeko, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yep.
Thank you.